This is the plaintiff, Quajo Broby. He says he purchased a house from the defendant, and after living there for a week, he noticed there were mold spots forming. A few weeks later, it had spread all over the walls in the basement, and the experts told him this kind of mold didn't happen overnight. It's clear the plaintiff intentionally painted over the walls in order to hide the existing mold problem, and he's suing the house for the $5,000 it's going to cost him to have it removed. This is the defendant, Kalimi. He says the plaintiff checked the house a few times before buying it, and the house he sold him was in great shape. Now he's being accused of trying to cover up mold with a fresh coat of paint. He didn't do anything of the sort, and besides, it's impossible to cover up mold with paint. Anyone knows that. If the guy has a mold problem, maybe he's not taking care of the place properly. He's accused of attempting a cover-up.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket, the plaintiff says the defendant defrauded him in a home sale by not declaring that the house was mold infested. But the defendant says the plaintiff inspected the house, so tough. It's the case of there's a fungus among us.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay. Quadwo Brabi?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, yay. You are suing the defendant you wish to be referred to only as Kalimi? Okay. And his business, Brooklyn Realty?
Yes.
All right. For $5,000 that you say it's going to, the statutory maximum in your state for small claims, you say it's actually going to cost you more than that to eradicate a mold problem on a house that he sold you.
That is
All
right.
Tell me what happened.
Your Honor, I bought a property in question from the defendant July 18th, to be precise. And a week and a half into 2 weeks after closing the property, I noticed that I had a very serious mold infestation problem.
Do you have pictures?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it? What room is this?
This is the basement.
Is that just in the basement?
That is correct.
Okay. Wow. Okay. And then, so what do you do when you realize that?
I was very excited towards this purchase. I've been saving up for this milestone in my life, and I was very ecstatic when I closed on the property. So I was very disappointed.
Did you do a walkthrough?
Yeah, I did a walkthrough. Yep.
When did you do the walkthrough in relation to the closing?
I did a walkthrough a couple of days before I closed.
And you closed on what day?
July 18th.
Okay, and when do you notice the walls looking like this?
About a week and a half into 2 weeks after I closed on the property.
So how did they not look like this when you did the walkthrough?
No, it didn't look like this.
Right.
There's always signs.
How did it not?
Because he had applied fresh paint, like it was painted freshly, and you could smell the fresh paint anytime you went into the basement. So from all indication, he tried to hide it from me before selling the property. And after this happened, I had reached out to two reputable...
You smelled fresh paint each time that you walked into the basement? How many times did you walk into the basement?
Over the course of 2 months, 3 times.
And each time you smelled fresh paint?
Each time, I mean, it was because the contractor was the one that was...
Each time did you smell fresh paint, yes or no? So wouldn't that be like a little red flag to you that somebody...
At that point in time, it didn't dawn on me at that point in time.
Because if you have to paint something over and over again, why are you painting it over and over again if there's fresh paint 3 times? Okay, so go on.
So I reached out to reputable mold removal companies in the New York area.
Can I see the pictures? Can I see the mold reports? Okay. They came and inspected on August 7th.
That is correct.
Okay. Was there fresh paint on the basement walls?
The whole house was fresh paint. The whole house was fully renovated.
Okay.
I bought the house
but
3 months.
But this mold that is appearing here is clearly something that you would have seen if you had just freshly painted it. You would have been, you would know that you were painting over mold.
Would I know that I would?
No, I'm not asking you. I'm telling you.
It's not simple to cover mold with paint.
Oh no, it's very simple. It's just it doesn't last long.
It doesn't last long.
Right, I know. So what his accusation is that when you freshly painted everything, you had to have seen that you were painting over mold.
Okay, well,
is that true or not true?
We had no mold in the basement. When I was the owner of the property, I never had mold problem.
How long did you own it?
I owned the property for 6 months, 6 to 7 months.
Okay, and who painted the property? You ordered it painted?
No, I have a contractor that does the whole house,
right,
brand new.
But I know from looking at this that there's no way that happened in a week and a half that he owned the house. You and I both know that.
It's not. It didn't happen in a week and a half. I think it was about 3 weeks that he didn't move into the house, and I don't know. Mr. Broby was. I think. When did you move to the house? Do you remember?
I haven't moved in yet because of the whole situation.
He hasn't moved in. That's what he's complaining about. He bought a house, he can't move in.
Okay,
but don't talk to each other. Talk to me.
Okay. When this is what happens. When I owned the house.
You never lived there.
No, I never lived there. But I had a contract. Exactly. But I had a contractor that would go in and out of the house.
Right, but a contractor who sees this would tell you about it.
Yeah.
So what is your premise that in a week and a half, as he says, or 3 weeks, as you say, that all that mold is a result of 3 weeks of what? He wasn't even living there. So how could he neglect?
Exactly. If he's not living there and he's not opening windows and the basement and the house, there's no air going through the house and.
Yeah, but why would? Okay, but hold on a second. Mold doesn't appear in a basement because you don't open basement windows. That's not.
Yeah, but accurate. You gotta at least you gotta.
Show me the paperwork from the sale of this house. Show me the paperwork from it. Did you inspect the property before you bought it?
Yeah, I had the bank.
I don't mean personally. I meant actually paid an inspector.
Yeah, the bank had an inspector inspect the property.
Right, but that inspection report specifically excludes mold as something that they're checking for, right?
Right, that is correct.
Okay, and then you're in the state of New York, so you guys have this sort of chess game thing in a sale of a property where there's a form that you can fill out saying all kinds of things, answering all these questions, but if you feel like not filling out the form, you just got to pay him $500.
Yeah, we paid that. Did
you accept $500 for him not filling out?
$500.
Of course I did. The statement shows that. At the closing statement?
Okay, hold on.
It clearly states that I paid the $500
New York State property disclosure credit, $500. It's right on your closing statement.
Yeah, but that was towards basically stuff like the structure that leads into the entrance of the house.
Stop. I know what a New York State disclosure statement is. Do you have any evidence that he actually signed the disclosure statement rather than paying you $500? Because the closing documents that he's showing me show he a credit for $500, which means, dude, you're so on your own. You better be really, really careful. It means that like more than an as-is contract, which this is also an as-is sale, but it means it a lot more than an as-is sale. It's because New York is trying to give you protection. They're telling you, okay, you got to fill out all these answers to these questions. But hey, if you don't feel like it, then just pay $500. And you got the $500. How many houses do you sell a year?
Many.
How many houses do you sell a year?
30 to 40 houses.
What is that an answer? Many? How many houses do you sell a year?
30 to 40 houses. The company.
Yeah, this is his business. This is what he does.
Right.
So I'm not surprised that he's like, here's $500. I don't want to get involved in this. So here's where we are then. What I have to decide is, okay, you should have gotten it tested, but if you didn't, can you still sue him and what's going on? Because if I feel that he's a cagey, sneaky jerk who painted over it in order for you to not know there was a mold problem, then now you got to eat this mold problem. I could feel that, but can you still sue, given all of the contracts that you guys have signed? Court is in recess.
All rise. I'll get that for you.
Yeah, thank you.
So the guy smells paint in the basement 3 separate times. Was he on notice that there was mold in the house? What do you think?
I think so. I think by the seller putting the fresh paint on it and then buyer coming in and.
Well, is it tough luck for him, or is the home seller still responsible for defrauding him?
I think he should have at least questioned the home seller about it.
So does he have any legal recourse by not doing that?
I don't know.
What do you think? Does he?
He's high on turpentine.
Oh, God. Going inside the courtroom.
First of all, it's your responsibility to know what you're buying when you have both an as-is sale, not both, when you have all of the above, an as-is sale, a guy who won't answer questions and pays you $500 for the privilege of not doing it, as the law allows him to do, so that you don't then later say, but you said, right? And something else that's in that contract that's very specific. There's a disclaimer in the contract. And the disclaimer says that you absolutely have made this decision based on your own physical inspection of the place and the physical condition of the place and not on anything he's said to you. If I believe that what you engaged in is active concealment, it's a different story because the law's not crazy. It's not going to allow somebody to actively conceal something so that without Herculean efforts, you can't discover it. Now, my next analysis, I have to look at this and say, is it possible that between July 18th and August 7th, this could happen? and only happen when you own it, and not have been there beforehand and deliberately painted over. I'm not just looking at mold here. I'm looking at those little cauliflower sprouting, that calcification that happens when the problem is so profound that it actually gets to that stage. And I got to tell you, when I look at this stuff, makes me kind of feel like your goal is to flip and make the most money possible and pass it along to the next guy.
That's not true. I put a lot of money in the houses that I fixed. The whole sheetrock in the house.
And so the question is, could this possibly come out a few weeks after purchase and all have happened during the time he owned it? And I say no. All right? So I find in favor of the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000.
So the judge decides in favor of the plaintiff here. Come on in here. Those pictures were damning evidence. You saw them.
It's not true. I never painted over the mold. There was never mold over there. He had his own inspection. I'm just surprised.
Well, where do you think all that mold came from so fast?
I don't know. You never know. Anybody can go make up pictures and bring them to the court. You know? Those molds, I don't know how that kind of mold can grow in a period of 2 weeks.
Well, why would he do that?
He's an opportunist.
All right, right down this way. Okay, head down there. All right, come on in here. You saved your whole life for this house, and now you get this ruling in your favor. And how you feeling about this?
I'm very elated about the judge's decision. All I can say is justice has been served, and God is good.
How ripped off did you feel when you saw that mold starting to crop up?
Very
on the wall?
devastated. Like I said, it was a milestone in my life. I put in all my life savings into this property, and I was just on the verge of tears.
Yeah. So what are you going to do now? You're going to fix it and move in there.
Moving as soon as possible.
All right. Over to Harvey.
Okay, even if you buy a house as is, you can still sue the seller for fraud, or as the judge puts it, active concealment, if that person is withholding something that's very material and trying to hide it from the buyer that would cause the buyer damage.